What if one day you suddenly realize that all your hard work and the dreams you've chased ultimately leave you feeling empty inside? What if you have the ideal job and achievements, yet every morning you wake up asking, what is the point of all this? Has anyone ever felt this way? I certainly have. I was born and raised in the Netherlands, growing up in a multilingual environment. As a child, I was extremely shy because I was often the only Chinese person in my class. When I faced discrimination or even bullying, I didn't understand why. These experiences led me to ask early on, who am I? What is the meaning of life? As I got older, I realized that everyone seemed to follow the same path. Birth, aging, sickness, and death. If death is inevitable, then all of this will eventually pass. So what is the meaning of it all? This question has always haunted me. Sometimes I even felt that being alive didn't seem to have much value. Until one day, my mom said to me, "Him, stop overthinking. Just study hard, get good grades, and become a success. Don't end up like me, working in a kitchen for your whole life." At that moment, I told myself, I'm going to take a different path than hers. So I started studying like crazy and became a top student. During summer breaks, while my classmates went on trips and had fun, I was at home studying and learning constantly. By the time I graduated, I had earned an honors degree in design. After graduation, I joined a 4A advertising agency. In various ways, I became the most hardworking employee. How hardworking? I was the first to arrive and the last to leave every day, not to mention the overtime. That effort paid off, and I eventually won the awards I had dreamed of. But I felt like every day was just chasing one deadline after another, constantly doing. This cycle made me feel like I had to ask myself, is this it? Is this really the life I wanted? I don't know if you've ever felt this way, just waiting from Monday to Friday for the weekend to arrive. I see some of you nodding. Back then, I felt like every day was a repeat, day after day passing by, as if life was just being consumed. I felt more than just tired. It was like a real burnout. A voice in my heart grew louder. What is the meaning of life anyway? I felt that even with professional success in my career, there was still a sense of emptiness. And honestly, I was still unhappy. And I couldn't stop those voices. So, guess what decision I made? In the year I turned 30, I made a choice. I quit my job to seriously search for meaning. Before making this choice, I had many concerns. Oh, without this stable job, what will I do? Or I didn't know what lay ahead. Lots of fear, lots of worry. But then I knew you only live once. I didn't want to have any regrets. At that time, a friend told me, "Hey, me, you want meaning? You should go to Africa." So I went there to be a volunteer. I helped the locals support their lives, but I felt what I could offer was just too limited, like it wasn't truly valuable. Then I felt this wasn't the meaning I sought, so I kept searching. Then I got into Kawachka to study philosophy. But then I felt this wasn't what I wanted. Because it seemed too far from my life, I felt it wasn't the meaning I sought, so I kept searching again. I pushed my limits, running marathons and trails. But in the end, I ran until my legs and knees gave out, and it still wasn't the meaning I sought. So I kept searching again. I even tried all kinds of meditation, static, dynamic, vipassana. Wow, I did it all. I grabbed the master and asked, "What is the meaning of life?" His answer was, "Realize it for yourself." Maybe I wasn't enlightened enough. So I kept searching or trying more things, searching here, searching there, always looking, always hoping. And in the end, no matter what I did, I still found no meaning. 5 years just passed like that. I felt absolutely terrible deep inside, completely lost, and just utterly, overwhelmingly depressed. So, what was I looking for? One day I was riding a motorbike alone in Vietnam. Then there was a big truck ahead. I wanted to pass it because it was slow. While accelerating, suddenly there was a rock. I couldn't avoid it and crashed. After flying off, I tumbled many times and stood up. I felt something dripping. What was it? A lot of blood was flowing down from my head. Luckily, I didn't die. At that moment, I looked up at the sky and asked myself, if my life had ended right then and there, would I have found any meaning? What do you all think? A voice inside me said, no, there is no meaning. At that moment, I felt even more despair. So, what exactly was stopping me from finding meaning? At that life and death moment, I suddenly had a realization. It seemed I'd been trapped by a single problem, always thinking about it all by myself. Maybe I needed to step outside of my own thoughts and hear the ideas and voices of many different people. So I launched a global questionnaire called The Meaning of Life in onesentence.com. The name is a bit long, isn't it? If you're interested, please check it out, and I look forward to your answers. I used this one prompt. Meaning of life is to collect answers from people all over the world. In the end, I collected over 500 responses and categorized them into 5 main groups. Most people believe that meaning comes from contributing to others. Some also believe it's about being yourself or seeking joy and happiness, but surprisingly, some people think that life itself has no meaning. But interestingly, another group believes that meaning is something you have to create yourself. So how do you create it? So I launched my next initiative. The Meaning of Life discussion meetups, gatherings to discuss the meaning of life. Doesn't that sound a bit like a cult activity? Surprisingly, quite a lot of people showed up. I held the first event in Tokyo, and there we were, sitting around a table, talking about the meaning of life. Since it was our first time meeting, I suggested we introduce ourselves, and one participant introduced himself like this. My name is Omar. I'm from Sudan. I've thought about it, and life has no meaning. There's nothing to introduce, and I'm thinking of suicide. Wow, my goodness. My first reaction was, this is the very first event I've ever organized. What do I do with a case like this? Luckily, another participant asked him, why do you feel that way? He said, well, I come from a religious country, and in Japan, I've seen so many different beliefs that challenge my own. I don't know what's true or false anymore. I'm a bit lost. Then, after the event, someone quietly asked him, are you still thinking about going back and committing suicide? But he said, oh, no, I feel much better now because you all were really, truly listening to me. Oh, so that's what this event is about. It's just that being able to share your true feelings and actually be heard is so healing. So I continue to host this event. Every single time I get so much inspiration and so many ideas. It's a learning experience. There's one participant who comes back every time. I asked him, don't you find it boring? Why do you keep coming back? He said, oh, you don't understand. I can't even talk about this with my wife. I said, aren't you in an intimate relationship? Shouldn't you be able to talk about anything? He said, no. And then he shared with me that he's actually going through a divorce with his wife right now. There was another participant at the event who is a psychologist, and he shared something too. He said that 90% of the clients who come to see him are dealing with the same kind of issue. He said it's relationships. Oh, so relationships are such a vital topic in our lives. So I wondered, could I find some tools to help me, start these conversations and build deeper connections? But I couldn't find nothing suitable. So I asked myself, could I create this tool on my own? This is a little notebook that I've been carrying with me throughout my journey of exploration. And I'd write down all my thoughts, inspirations, or ideas in here. Then I asked myself, hey, could I turn some of these ideas into a tool? So I began my research into the design. Then I turned some of the ideas into graphic designs and then made them into physical cards. Then I put them on the table for everyone to draw and answer together. I found that relationships, which are usually so hard to talk about, could actually be shared through a game. So I gave it a name, the relation game. It's a card game with 100 cards. It's more like 110 ways to open up a conversation, to build deeper connections. One of the cards looks like this. I don't know if you can tell what kind of relationship it represents. Once, a participant drew this card and said, I see the very poor state of my relationship with my mother. And then he drew the next card, which was a character card, the time traveler. It asked a question like this. If a time machine took you 10 years into the future, what would you want your relationship to be like? He suddenly realized that he actually craved his mother's love, which he had never been able to get. It was because he felt that his mother had always been somewhat neglecting him. After this event, he gathered his courage. He took the initiative to call his mother. He then realized it wasn't that his mother didn't love him, but rather she didn't know how to express it. Their relationship slowly improved. I found that a good question can bring about change and lead to self-discovery. So I wanted to make more of these tools, and I invented these reflection sticks. Inside are 60 good questions. Each one can give us a kind of magical superpower. Then through thought experiments, we discover what we truly desire. Here's one of the sticks. If you had a clone, what would you want them to do for you? What do you think? Someone answered like this. They said, let them go and rest. Many people there thought it was strange. Why not let them work while you go and rest? And then he was suddenly surprised. He said, oh, right, I guess I could be the one resting too. His later explanation was that because he was always chasing efficiency, he couldn't stop. And in his own words, he never let himself off the hook. A single stick can help him discover what he truly needs. I'm also developing this called time and money. Time and money are very important resources for everyone, but how do we allocate them? In this game, I give everyone some money and time currency to allocate to family, friends, career, health, and so on. This game can let us know more clearly how to better use these resources of ours. I also invented a pencil to help express emotions. When happy, you can use the happy side, the white side, to write. When unhappy, you can use the black side, the unhappy side, to write. This can help us to, notice the changes in our emotions. I've paired it with a notebook called Thanks Note. It makes it so that whether happy or unhappy, it's all worth being grateful for, and we can also accept ourselves as we are. I also invented a now clock. This now clock uses the word now for the present, replacing all the numbers with now, 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 now. This can bring us back to the present moment in real time. I'm still exploring more tools like this. If anyone here is interested, you can also find me to co-create more fun tools like these together. Basically, with each tool, I hope to let everyone stop for a moment and think. Setting off again. I realized that while doing all of this along the way, it's been a long time since I asked an old question. Do you still remember what that question was? What is the meaning of life? Exactly. I found that if I just kept thinking about it, I couldn't come up with any answers at all. So I turned my thoughts into action. And in the midst of acting, I haven't had that question for a long time or felt the need to ask it. I can use a very simple diagram to explain the source of my actions using 3 circles. What I am good at, what I'm good at. What I love doing, what I love doing. What I want to fix, what I want to fix. So what about me? What I'm good at is design. What I love is philosophical thinking. What I want to solve is getting to know oneself through fun ways, like games. When these 3 overlap, I found my why. What would philosophical thinking plus design plus games be? I call these tools for life design, a toolkit for life design, so more people can discover themselves through fun ways and design their own lives. Before, I was always asking, what is the meaning of life anyway? I only realized later that it was because I didn't know myself well enough that I kept asking that question. Now, I hope to use these tools to help more people get to know themselves. to break through all obstacles and take the initiative to design the life they want. Actually, even after I found this why, there were many times it's really not that easy. There are many times when I fail or feel like giving up. But every time, what makes me stand up and keep going, keep moving forward, is because of my why. But today, I've only shared my story. More importantly, if it were you, where would you want to start taking action? Would it be from what you're good at, what you love, or a problem you want to solve? So finally, I want to leave you with a question. If you were the designer of your own life, what would you want your next step to be? Actually, the answer is right there in the question. Thank you, everyone.